in that new inquiry, among them Keith Vaz MP, chair of the Home Affairs Committee at Westminster. I showed him part of Richard Kerr's interview.
Why don't you go up and spend some time with him? He's got a gift for you.
What are your thoughts when you hear that?
Well, obviously it's pretty shocking that anyone of that age should be put through that kind of mental and emotional torture. It is obviously very difficult for the person concerned to recount it, because it's something that must have affected him deeply at that age. This seems to be new information, and that information needs to be put before the inquiry team so that we can examine everything.
Those children were exploited. Was there a cover-up? It needs a national investigation. That's why we...
Last week, the Stormont Assembly called for Kincora to be included in the Westminster inquiry, to be led by Solicitor Fiona Wolfe. But central to any inquiry into Kincora is that it must have powers to get answers from MI5 about why it failed to report allegations of sex abuse in 1975 and why it obstructed a subsequent police investigation. Effectively, that represented a cover-up of the sex abuse at Kincora, but it may also have contributed to a cover-up of what seems to have been a sophisticated and much wider paedophile ring.
Other people were dictating our path through life there, and they used that. Well, I just hope they're proud of themselves. You know, I really do. They're, yeah, no doubt they'll, yeah, they probably think, yeah, we had to do it. No, we didn't bloody had to do it. You know, if that's the only way you can get a result, well, then you're doing something wrong. You know, surely we're above that. As a society, we're far more intelligent than that. No, no.
Is it on any level, as far as you're concerned, acceptable that an operation centred on a boys' hostel should allow abuse to continue?
No, and that is why when Lady Wolfe conducts her inquiry, we will expect her to ask these questions in an open and transparent way, the reasons why this was allowed to continue. And it is for her to be able to probe that. But we will be expecting that to happen, and we will be putting that to her when she appears before us.
Brian Gemmell says he left intelligence not long after his Kincora assignment. He could no longer reconcile his career with his conscience. He'd been troubled for years by what had happened back in the 70s. So what would have happened had you gone to the police? You could have stopped the suffering, you know, a long time earlier for some of these young men.
Yep, I accept that, yep.
In order to put that right, will you be prepared to give evidence to an inquiry?
I will. And I deeply regret, retrospectively, that as a young man, I didn't throw my career to the wind. I'm deeply sorry, and I apologise to any of those victims, all of those victims who suffered, because I didn't do what I didn't have the guts to do then what I've got the guts to do now.
No inquiry has ever before taken the evidence of Brian Gemmell, so central to the revelation of an MI5 cover-up. Spotlight asked the Home Office and MI5 for comment on the allegations of cover-up. The Home Office told us it would not comment on security matters and wouldn't confirm or deny the identities of agents.
Gary Hoy spent 7 years at Kincora Boys' Home in East Belfast. He remains deeply traumatised after being systematically abused by William McGrath, Joseph Mains and Raymond Semple. In 1981, the trio were jailed for abusing boys in their care.
They never left me. I'm 53 now, and every day I wake up, but sometimes I even hate going to sleep because I know I was going to wake up the next morning. Bad old thoughts still in my head. Every time I pass it on the bus, it's very hard to see it still standing there.
It's long been alleged that visitors to the former boys' home Kincora included members of the military, civil servants and politicians. Many of the former residents, including Gary, believe previous police investigations were blocked by Mi5 and the security services. They're convinced that in order to start to try and get to the truth of what went on behind these walls, Kincora needs to be investigated by the Westminster Wolf Inquiry.
But the Home Secretary has decided Kincora will not be included. In a statement, the Secretary of State said she believes the current historical abuse inquiry here, headed by Sir Anthony Hart, is better placed to pursue allegations of abuse at Kincora, adding all government departments will cooperate to the utmost of their ability. The HIA has welcomed Theresa Villiers' assurances of full cooperation, believing it now enhances its ability to investigate Kincora. Gary Hoy, however, is unimpressed.
For once I wasn't shocked, you know, because to me there's too many people involved, and hierarchy people, you know what I mean, and it's just too scared of who was involved, you know what I mean.
The First Minister, who's disappointed Kincora will not be thoroughly examined by the Westminster inquiry, says he will seek clarification from Sir Anthony Hart that he now have the same range of powers to carry out a robust investigation into Kincora. Politicians on all sides of Stormont believe there's a critical weakness in the abuse inquiry here.
What she is not able to do today is say for sure Sir Anthony will be able to compel the right witnesses from Mi5 and the security services. That is the big allegation. That's the one that's been lingering for so many years and decades. That's the one that needs to be nailed.
I think what we need in relation to any allegations of this nature is a full, transparent, independent inquiry with sufficient powers to get to the truth. I think that's what victims require.
Do you think that the truth will ever come out about Kincora?
Never come out. They're not come out now when they're not taking it to Westminster, you know what I mean? I mean, so what are they hiding this time?
The Historical Abuse Inquiry says it won't be able to investigate Kincora until the end of next year at the earliest. Jane Lockray, UTV Live, East Belfast.
The Alliance MP for East Belfast, Naomi Long, joins me from London. Naomi Long, what's your reaction to the government's decision not to include Kincora in the inquiry into historical child abuse?
Well, obviously, I am extremely disappointed that they have rejected not just my calls, but also those of Amnesty International and indeed of the Northern Ireland Assembly to take a fresh look at Kincora in detail as part of the investigations that they are launching here in Westminster. Because clearly the allegation is that there was cover-up, that it went to the highest levels of authority here in Westminster, and therefore I believe that only an inquiry located in Westminster will be able to do this issue justice.
What are they afraid of?
Well, I think that's a question perhaps best levelled at the Home Office and indeed the Secretary of State. I cannot understand for the life of me what there is to be lost at this point from giving those victims who claim that their abuse was covered up and giving those witnesses who at the time made statements to say that they believe the abuse was covered up the opportunity to give a full and frank account of those issues and to ensure that it's fully investigated and that people can have some justice and truth. So I think that's a question that really rightly has to be put to the Home Office and indeed to the Secretary of State.
But in the meantime, if a request is made for any information from other parts of the UK beyond Northern Ireland, that's all it will be, just a request.
Well, precisely, there will be no power to compel, and whilst the government have said that they will cooperate with any inquiry, they have said in as far as they might, and of course those caveats are obviously critical when it comes to understanding just how much cooperation there may be. I'm extremely concerned that if we don't take this opportunity to have the inquiry, we may never know the truth of Kincora, and only those who suffered most directly will ever fully know the horror of what they went through. I think the government must be held to account, and I think they ought to have been more generous on this occasion.
You would like a separate independent inquiry, but how realistic is that?
Well, my preference would be for this to go into the CSA inquiry that they've already announced. The timing was perfect, and I think it would have been the correct vehicle had they set the terms and conditions in the right way. Having failed to do that, I do believe that only an independent inquiry will work, because to load more into Sir Anthony Hart's inquiry in Northern Ireland and to limit the ability to compel evidence and not to be able to deal with issues around the Official Secrets Act, I think will compromise any investigation.
Naomi Long in London, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're watching